Hello, Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the damn sofa. That's the damn sofa, and that's my damn sassy sidekick, Mr. Roscoe P. Coltrane, and my damn name's Paul. Today we're going to be continuing our discussion on the HBO series, The Staircase. Yes, I know at this point it is totally over. It's been over, but it has taken me a minute because of work and all this stuff to get caught up with it. So we're going to be talking about episode 5 and 6 today. Now, what we'll also be doing is once this is over, we're going to be doing some live chats about it, as well as some articles that I've been keeping up with about what the Petersons are saying about this, Michael Peterson, his son, this kind of a thing. Okay, that being said, first and foremost, I want to say thank you to everybody who makes this channel possible. Shout out to the top tier Patreon level. Thank you very much. It would not be here without anybody who contributes to the channel, so I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Roscoe thanks you, and the damn sofa thanks you too. Okay, now don't forget to check out my latest commercials that have, or my latest commercials. Don't forget to check out my latest videos that have Roscoe's commercials in them. The Diane Downs video and the Israel Keys video. There's going to be links down below for them. So just check this out, see what they're about. Roscoe has his little sponsors in there, and they are so cute. He does such a good little job with them. So be sure and check those out. The links are down below, and there'll be the end screen for this too. Okay, all that being said, we're going to be going through my notes. Now, what I do is, for this particular stuff, if you've been following my videos on this, I just watch the episode and make little notes here, and then I read through them on here and make commentary on it, right? So what I'll do is I'm going to do the same thing here. We're going to start with episode 5. Now, what I did also is episode 5, I didn't make that many notes on it, and I believe episode 6 had the owl thing. Yeah, we gonna get to that, okay? But we'll start with episode 5, so I'm just going to read through it and make commentary. So, Staircase, episode 5. The producers fight over balancing the story. The woman doesn't want to include testimony about the broken cartilage. The man says, but he was found guilty. So there's this whole thing that we see them portraying, right? Breaking down this whole, who thinks he was guilty, who doesn't. We see this tug of war between the producers, the editors, all this kind of stuff. Now remember, he had this relationship going with one of the producers, editors, the woman. And at the time of this recording, y'all, I have not watched episode 7 or 8, if there is an 8th one. I know there's one after 6. I've watched up to these 2. So I have not seen what they are saying concludes that, nor have I allowed myself to read any articles about what she is saying, because I'm dying to know if she broke it off saying that she thinks he's guilty. But anyways, at the time of this and what they're showing is it's not that way, right? Anyways, so all that being said, there's that going on, and this is a good portrayal because I do think it's interesting to see the tug of war going on behind the scenes, because really with the original documentary that was really portrayed on there, so many people went back and forth with I think he's guilty, I don't think he's guilty. But also, if we're looking at the lens of the editor, had the lens of I think he's not guilty and I'm having this kind of affair with him, that's a pretty strong bias in my opinion, right? So let's keep going. Peterson is eager for appeal. He gets beat up in jail. Now, this whole portrayal of him having to pay out people in jail and him getting beat up and stuff, I mean, I was very curious about that, because I was like, this guy screams target, right? And so to go into General Pop and be in there, I was just like, yeah, I mean, how is this guy going to live, right? So it was curious to me to see that that's kind of how that went down, especially knowing that it was so public, his gay stuff, right? And then to go into jail, I was like, I just wondered how that went for him. And again, who knows how accurate that was. Now, his side, his team, his lawyer, they all seem to be saying, oh, this is all made up and this is horrible and this, that, and the other. Who knows? Okay, let's keep going. The scene of him getting a letter from Tulane University about Margaret getting bad grades and he is awful to her. Okay, so now so remember, he gets this letter, she's getting bad grades, and he's like, you're not coming home for Thanksgiving or something like this, and she ends up going elsewhere. Now, whether this was accurate or not, or however it was portrayed, I think that one thing that we see with whether it's Peterson or narcissists and people like this is they have these Jekyll, how do you say it? Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Jekyll and Hyde personalities, right? Where one minute they're fine and they're doing this, and the next it's this nightmare. And to me, this is this good portrayal of whoa, like the mind games they will play, right? And I just feel like that this was probably accurate, whether it was accurate for this moment. And again, I don't know, right? I don't know if this is really how this played out or not, but just this kind of thing of like, you're not coming home and you're not doing this. Mind you, it wasn't his money to begin with. One thing I think is interesting that was portrayed so accurately, it sounds like if you listen to like Caitlyn and people like that, is that he was very good at spending other people's money, right? I mean, he did make some bank from that book, but he didn't continue doing this, and I don't understand why. Now, it did sound like at the time of the murder, that or the accident possibly, whatever took place with Kathleen, but he was, you know, I mean, he, at the end of the day, this is what he at least did the Alfred plea to, was that, you know, they have enough evidence to reconvict him that he had something to do with her in that staircase, right? Okay, so he was going to be doing this movie deal, all this kind of stuff for a book, so, you know, there was that, but he wasn't consistently bringing in an income. It was, you know, unfortunately, but not unfortunately, it was Kathleen who was doing that, but you saw him and his family, meaning him and his boys, were all leeching off of her, right? I mean, and I'm excluding the girls from that because I look at them honestly as victims of his, right? And I feel like Kathleen opened her home up to his entire family, and I feel like she was trying to create an energy, a vibe for those girls, the Ratliff girls. But I feel like they were victims of his also, right? So there's that. And as well as the mother. So anyways, let's keep going. Their mother. Okay. Peterson pays off the dudes to protect him in jail. We just talked about this. Cartilage could have been broken in the pool fault or the stairs, the producer says. So the cartilage that was in her neck, this was like left out, right? This was like a thing that didn't get through there. This is like huge, right? So the cartilage could have been broken in the pool fault or the stairs, the producer says. So remember in the beginning when she jumps in the pool and there's that whole thing? This show does so much to me that we didn't see in other documentaries. And I don't know, has somebody written a damn book on this that goes this deep into it? If they haven't, they need to, right? With all this kind of details, factual details, because again, this is at the end of the day a docudrama. We don't know what is 100% accurate, but this is such a good vein, right, of this story, because it creates doubt, right? I mean, this is major. She hurt her neck in the pool, right? We don't know if that came from that. There is so much reasonable doubt in this case with that, even though to me, you already know if you watch my last video, I 100% think he had something to do with this, right? Do I think he got a fair shake at the trial? No. Clearly, Dwayne Deaver is a liar, right? This is proven. And there's all these other things that are like, you know, and this is one of them. So anyways. Estate sale, can't sell home because of what happened. Okay, right? Here's the thing. And now, when they were doing the estate sale, and again, I used to work in estate sales, and this always creeped me out. It still does. Usually, the normal estate sale is somebody has passed, and even then. Okay, so when something like this happens, I mean, who wants to buy the house, right? That you're talking some serious bad mojo. Now, if I can remember, a psychic ended up buying the house at one point. Now, not the most recent sale of it. But the estate sale is like, you know, it just had, I don't know. I've been to these. I've done these before. I've worked in it. It's always weird energy, allowing people to come into your home and buy your loved one's stuff. But what are you going to do with it, right? And at the end of the day, they're trying to get money for Michael's attorneys, right? And they're to this level because, I mean, honestly, you're selling this stuff for pennies on the dollar, right? So I was like, oh, whoa, they're at this point of doing this? Like, holy, you know what? Okay, let's keep going. So, awkward dinner scene with Kathleen, Mike, and friends. Oh my God, y'all, this part. Okay. Mike orders expensive wine after Kathleen says no. He acts like he doesn't know about Margaret not coming home for Thanksgiving. Okay, this part right here, and again, we don't know how much of this is true or whatnot, but it just goes to show again, like portraying these scenes of him having no problem spending her money. No problem at all. And so remember in the part where it's portraying him doing away with her on the stairs, and she's like, you're a con man and you're this and that. And for me, I mean, it gives me goosebumps now, right? That was so accurate. And so you look and piece the puzzle together with these things, and all of that adding up along the way of like, really, you know, I'm sitting here busting my ass, you know, Nortel is like going down under, right? Everyone's losing their jobs. All this is going on. I've just said, we can't, this is crazy, right? We can't spend the money on this wine, right? Or whatever it was. He doesn't have a problem doing it. And then he acts completely like, what are you talking about? Oh, she's not coming home? Again, if you've been in a relationship with these kind of personality types, this is run of the mill, right? This is the kind of stuff they do. They are going to make you think you're crazy. They are going to turn things up and then throw it off on you or do this. This is what they do. And it portrays him doing so much of this. And I'm so curious to know if these things were truly accurate. So in the end, we're left off with seeing Sophia, the producer, visiting him. And this is like, oh, whoa, this is going to get like a major, total conflict of interest. Now we're going to switch. So those are the only notes I made for episode 5, right? There just wasn't too much going on for that one. Now we're going to switch over to episode 6. Okay. So it opens with a 2017 of him going to his Alford plea hearing. So there's that. When we then see scenes of the producer, Sophia, courting Mike, moving to the States, Larry Pollard calling her, etc. So this is the whole thing they're putting together of her really trying to put this case together. And this is where, to me, the lines are crossed, right? She is taking a personal interest in fighting for his freedom, fighting for what she perceives as being, a wrongful conviction, this, that, and the other. And again, this is where things get complicated because on one hand, and this is where I feel like with her, it's like, she probably fell under the Mike spell. Because on one hand, you can be like, he probably had something to do with it, but it also wasn't like, this was, not a really great way of getting a conviction, right? There's a lot going on here, okay? And there's a lot going on with that. But they're showing this whole depiction, Larry Pollard, the neighbor, coming into play with this whole thing. Okay, then they show a scene of Larry showing Sophia the owl theory at the Peterson house. And again, this is going to be a theme for this episode, the owl theory. Now, we'll get it. So we're going to talk about the owl theory in a minute. Mike loses the appeal. He gets pissed at David. Now, remember, David, first of all, David did a lot of like pro bono stuff for Mike because he's in this. Number one, I respect David as an attorney, 100%. We probably don't know all the stuff that he knows behind the scenes of the family, of this kind of stuff. He has definitely gotten people who 100% did not deserve to be on whether it was death row or whatever they were on. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's been a good defense attorney. So I respect him, right? I can't say that I don't. And he's done a lot of free stuff for Mike, right? I mean, this kind of case right here, this is like one of the most expensive cases in North Carolina history, okay? So there's that. So he gets pissed at David, the whole 9 yards. Then we see a prison visit with the family. It goes bad. He just leaves. Again, this eerie, like just that vibe. And again, it does kind of get like, what do you say, right? He's locked away. Can you imagine being the kids going to visit this dude? And it's like, whether you think, like, take yourself out of, he's guilty, he's not guilty, whoever it is. You're a child going to visit your father who's in prison, right? And the realization of it, they ain't going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a hard one, right? Now, again, I'm not trying to sit here and alleviate from the fact of, like, oh, Caitlin can never see her mother again, right? Because that weighs heavier with me than the other. But just no matter what, at the end of the day, it's still your parent. So you're going to be looking at it differently, especially if you view it as your parent is innocent, right? So there's that. Okay, Sophia and Larry meet again over the owl. So this gains traction. Kathleen and Candace fight at Thanksgiving. There's that. So we see that kind of relationship with them, the family, all this kind of stuff. This is the scene, if you watched it, where they're there over Thanksgiving. They get all up in it. It sounds like Kathleen was always kind of the go-getter, the winner, the this, the that. That type thing. Again, just adding some dynamics to the family that we see. Todd throws party at the Peterson home on Thanksgiving. Okay, here we go. So when that's all going on and they're at, so when I say they, I'm talking about Michael and Kathleen are at the sister's house for Thanksgiving because remember somebody else, the daughter wasn't coming home because Michael Peterson did that. Then they come home and Todd is throwing this party and trashed the whole house. This is where he was having sex in their bed or one of them was Clayton. I can't remember which one now, which is just creepy. And then that's where the condom comes from. Remember in the very beginning of the crime scene where they found the condom, it ended up being one of the sons. There's a lot going on, but look at who is at the center of it always. theories. Michael Peterson and his sons, and I'm not trying to allude that one of them did anything to Kathleen, because I know that's a theory, but I'm just saying that like a lot of this turmoil is caused by him and his sons, right? So let's keep going. They were shown a scene of producer and Larry looking at evidence of feathers, so we see that. Now you can see how going through this, it starts to add up, right? Okay. Scene of the producer meeting with medical examiner about the feather, and she says she never saw them because the fragments were too small. She says she could re-examine the wounds but would need to exhume Kathleen and they would need permission. Okay, then Mike and Kathleen return home and the house is trashed. They go upstairs. Clayton and Kathleen go upstairs. The condom was Clayton's. We just talked about this. Kathleen says to make up for the you-know-what show of that year, next Christmas is going to have a perfect Christmas. Well, we see what happened, right? Then we see a scene, now this is major, we see a scene of Margaret with her aunt, and she learns that Michael wanted to split them up as children. Now this is major, y'all, okay, major, right? This is where you start to see the cracks in the facade. What we saw when this is going on currently, presented on camera, whether it was currently on the news, or then flash forward to when the documentary came out, of this family, this perfect little family, that there seemed to be something off. This is the something off, right? This is the real Michael Peterson in my opinion. Okay. Now, let's get into it. Let's get into the damn owl scene. Okay, I'm going to say this about the damn owl scene, y'all. And we're going to talk about what I think about it afterwards. Okay, so for so long, so many of us were either like, it's plausible, the owl, or it was like, what? Come on. Whatever side of the fence you were on about the owl theory, seeing them portray the owl theory the way they did was like, it just gave me goosebumps. I was like, oh my God, this is plausible. This is, oh my God, this kind of thing, right? I was like, I could see this happening, right? Y'all, again, I mean, I wish you could see, I have goosebumps all over me thinking about poor Miss Kathleen. So let me just read my note. Okay, when we are shown the owl scene, Kathleen heads in, she goes in the deer thing. She goes to the deer to put it out front. When she does, the owl attacks her, and she goes back up the stairs and falls down. Okay, so yes, Kathleen's like, oh, I'm going to put the deer out front. Yo, when that owl comes down, and I was always trying to envision, because for whatever reason, I guess I always thought that the owl was like somehow caught inside and coming down the stairs or something. I don't know, it just never occurred to me, but I was like, this makes sense, right? Where it comes down and bam, and that's the smack noise that it made, right? And her doing all that. And then her going up the stairs and kind of the wheezing and falling back. I was like, oh my God. And then sitting there and bleeding out. And for whatever reason, it just made sense to me. And I was like, I can see why she was going upstairs to the bedroom to be like, oh my God, I just got hit. Let me go up to the bathroom. What's going on? And then just that kind of like thing, right? Okay, there's that. Here's my thing with the owl theory, though, and I'm just going to say this. Seeing it portrayed out, and again, this is on television, here's my thing. If the owl did that, I just go back to this. We're talking there was microscopic feathers found. Microscopic. I am sorry to say, I just believe that there would have been more, right? I believe there would have been more. I just do. What they found, she could have easily, from putting her hair on the back of the chair at the pool, could have picked that up. You know what I'm saying? It painted a more realistic picture of the owl theory, but it's not what wrong with me is this is what happened. It just isn't. It's not what wrong with me. It just didn't set with me, but it was the most plausible looking thing. I feel like there would have been more. And we'll talk about it in a minute. Let's keep going through. But so right now, that's just what I'm saying. Okay, so please hold. Okay, so then Sophia calls Caitlin to ask permission to exhume, and she says, "Hell no." I mean, come on, that takes some balls to call poor little Caitlin and be like, "Can we exhume your mother because of the owl theory?" Come come on. Okay, Caitlin, there's no question, okay, of what happened, right? There's no question. And that's why she said this. No. Are you crazy? No. We're not doing this. You want me to exhume my mother? Are you crazy? You know. And it ends with him at the Alfred plea saying he won't plead guilty to say he killed Kathleen. Y'all, he was not going to go back in there. I remember watching this follow-up to it, and I was like, he is just taking it up to the end of the line to do this whole thing. Like, oh, I'm not going to do it, you know. And honestly, he probably could have said, I'll go back to trial and gotten off of it. Because at this point, I'm just like, y'all, that Durham DA, Durham messed up. If you want to talk about a victim's family being pissed off at a district attorney's office, you talk about Kathleen's sister. Y'all, you want to talk, I mean, this is an embarrassment to them. Number one, Dwayne Deaver and how long this drug out. I mean, come on. Okay, so that's all I know. So let's get back to this. Let's talk about the owl. That's the main thing, right? The owl theory. Okay, so I do not believe that the owl did it. Okay, I do not. I believe that the show depicted it in the most realistic manner. If somebody were going to die from the owl theory kind of thing, I 100% could see it doing this. I believe that if it went down like this, there would have been way more evidence than so. Now, I get that at this point, it's like, well, they weren't really thinking that in the moment, and they weren't really looking for that. Here's the thing. Where they are at, and again, and it's hard to explain because everywhere around here, if you're from this area, you know, like there's just nature around here, right? I have no doubt that there could be owls living around there, you know, 100%. But the microscopic, tiny little feather thing could have easily just been her putting her head back, right? Just as easy as that. She could have picked this up. Just no. I think if the owl came and popped her like that and did whatever it did to her, and she was like doing this tangled thing and all this or whatever, I still go back to what we saw portrayed of him walking up the stairs in some fashion, pushing her down, using the stairs as a weapon, banging her head and letting her bleed out. I think he walked outside. I think that's where we get the blood on the door. I think that's where the blood drop came from. Now, also, I'll say this. I think if the owl attacked her like that, it probably would have taken a couple of minutes to... I don't expect that we would have seen blood, you know, gushing out outside or whatever. It all makes sense. I do think that when she was bleeding out, Michael Peterson was walking around the house and doing stuff. And I think that's where some of this random blood came from. The blood splatter, I do believe that, I can't think of his name right now, but, you know, the blood splatter guy at Michael Peterson's, I do think there was her coughing the blood up, but then I do think there was the cast-off stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think it's a mixture of a lot of things. Do I think it's the perfect crime? In a sense, right? Because it's the perfect crime because also the DA, Dwayne Deaver, lied. They fabricated stuff. They couldn't exactly pin it on him because it was so odd, right? It was just like, what? He came in? I do not believe that he sat out there by the pool for that long and just didn't come in at all. I don't believe that. At all, right? I think that they got into some kind of argument, and I think that she called him out. I think that he was the things. I think he was a con man. I think he is a con man, right? And I think that he did these things, and I think that he snapped. I don't think he premeditatedly killed her. I think it was in the moment. And I think that he snapped, and I think that he killed her in that moment on the stairs, you know. But the owl theory, it laid to rest something with me seeing it play out where I was like, oh my God, it was realistic and I could see it happening. But when I started to just think about it more and more, I was like, because I'm not gonna lie, at first I was like, okay, I'm not gonna lie, at first I was like, oh my God, maybe the owl did do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, maybe the owl did it. I've been wrong this whole time. And again, I want to hear your, like, what you think, because I mean, trust me, I was signed up for it. I was like, damn, you know. But then the more I thought, I was like, I just can't get away from the fact that it's microscopic hairs. There's all this other circumstantial stuff going on. And then just, I know you can't convict people on their personality types, but I mean, come on. Like, there's something, I don't know, right? But again, I don't think he got a fair trial. I think that they lied, and I think they fabricated stuff, and I don't think it was a fair trial at all. But I do think he had, direct, he had something to do with her death, right? And I think he let poor Kathleen die a slow, horrible death on those stairs, and he listened to her gurgle and die a slow, painful death, and he cooked up the story that he was sitting out there smoking that cigar for like 2 hours. I don't buy it at all. At all. So, anyways, that's it. If you're still here, drop some hearts for Kathleen. Drop some hearts for the Ratliff's girl. Hold on. The Ratliff's girl's mother. I cannot think of her name right now. And I'm sorry to say that, but just for their mother. And then drop some little doggy prints and sofas. Just show some love for Roscoe. And that's it. Let me know what you think, because I know this is a case where people think it's Al or Michael did it. We are open to all things here, y'all. This is the sofa. We don't show hate in the comment section. I like hearing both sides of it. Just because I think that Michael did it doesn't mean that I don't want to hear people who think that it's an Owl theory, right? Where it's all about respect here at the sofa. And so we're open to any and all conversation here. This is not a pick sides and then go with battle axes or anything like that. So that's what makes the sofa the sofa. Anyways, again, thank you everybody for making the sofa the place to be. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And until we gather back around that damn sofa, we'll see you soon.